It's interesting because what we're doing is yesterday's Rambam. Yesterday, as you know, we learned 3 chapters a day. So yesterday's Mamish this halacha. So what are we talking about? Just a brief review. So the Rambam explains, the Gemara says that David's back on. The Gemara says in Chagigans and several places that the holiness that Yeshua conferred upon Eretz Yisrael when he conquered it was temporary. And once it was conquered from the Yidden by the Babylonians, the Kedusha left. And min HaTorah, from the Torah itself, there's no obligation to observe any of the agricultural laws of Shemitah, the sabbatical year, Meiseres, the tithes, and so on. However, when Ezra, the second Knissa, the second Bia, the second coming, the second entry under Ezra, so then what Ezra sanctified, which is a smaller area than the original conquest, what Ezra sanctified, this is 1,000 years later from Yeshua, more than 1,000 years, not 1,000 years, yeah. So that's forever. Now, we also pointed out that this has nothing to do with two things, nothing to do with the ownership. Eretz Yisrael belongs to Avram from day one, way back. B has nothing to do with Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash. That sanctity is forever also under Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, because that sanctity was not done by him, but by the Shekhinah, God himself. So the Shekhinah rests there, and the Shekhinah, the divine presence, never departed, not from Yerushalayim and not from the Beis HaMikdash. But the rest of the land, we just heard, under Yeshua, temporary, under Ezra, permanent. The Gemara doesn't say why. It just says one was sanctified temporarily, and the other one, L'Doros, forever. That's Ezra. The Rambam offers an explanation. But the explanation the Rambam offers is very strange, and the Kesef Mishnah, the classic commentaries on the Rambam, cannot understand. They don't even they don't justify it. The Rambam says because the difference is Yeshua conquered. He brought the Kedusha by conquering. Kibush, since it was conquered from the Yidden, subsequently, the Kedusha, the holiness departed. Ezra did not confer the Kedusha by conquering, but by taking possession. And since Chazaka means manifesting ownership. That's what Chazaka, it literally means Chazak. Lahachzik is to hold on to something. But he manifested ownership, and that's forever. So the commentaries say, what's the difference? Conquering is one way of acquiring, manifesting ownership. How do you manifest ownership? You settle something. Just explain. In halacha, when you buy something, so in essence, really, you haven't acquired it, even if you paid money, until you manifest ownership. If it's a physical object, you have to lift it, you have to take it. If it's an animal, you have to draw it. If it's land, you have to do some act that demonstrates your ownership. Dig it, put up a fence, do something. Only then is it scripturally truly yours. It's called a kinyan. You do a physical act that demonstrates your ownership. And you all did this, for example, when you all got married. We do this kind of kinyan. It's a similar idea to show that you are serious, and this is truly an obligation. We use this in many areas also to obligate yourself. Just to explain, when you ksubah, the day of your wedding, so the rabbi asked you to pick up a handkerchief. What was going on there? Because in the ksubah, you're obligating yourself, financial obligation to your wife, God forbid, in case of death or divorce. Also mentioned there to honor and cherish and provide all the things that a Jewish husband has to provide his wife. So to show that you actually mean it, it's got to be some physical act. What's the act? When you pick up that object, you're really acquiring it. That object belongs to the witnesses. It's their handkerchief or it's something. So you're acquiring it, and you're saying, I'm acquiring this, and I'm giving in exchange my sincere obligation. Since you demonstrated it with an act, it's called a kinyan sudra, a kinyan chlipin. Since it's different. That's exchanging things. You're not exchanging. Here you're acquiring something. I'm taking something, and that's demonstrating that just as I'm taking, I'm giving equally my obligation. So it's a kinyan. It's called, so Likewise, chazaka is a kinyan, is an acquisition. It means that when Yeshua conquered, Yeshua, again, so the Rambam is saying, strange words. Yeshua, the holiness came because why? He conquered it. Ezra, the holiness came because the Yid manifested ownership over it. And therefore that's forever. So the Kesef Mishnah says, what's the difference? Conquering is a very physical, halakhically legal way of acquiring something. Now, if someone conquers it back for me, so all right, I can understand I can lose that. But why is chazaka any stronger than that? Manifesting ownership. Under Ezra, they manifested ownership, and then the Romans came and they manifested ownership. So that's it, and drove us out there. Now they're the owners. What's the difference? And besides, the bigger question that Kesef Mishnah asks is, when Yeshua conquered, what was the next thing he did? They took possession. He didn't just conquer. He didn't just drive out the non-Jews. They then settled the land and manifested their ownership. So Yeshua has actually, it's twice as strong as Ezra. Ezra didn't conquer it. Ezra returned back to build the second Mesa Mikdash with the permission of the one who controlled Israel then. That was the king of Persia called Cyrus. Darius. In English, they call him Cyrus. So there were no conquering necessary. They just got permission. They went back. They returned it, finished. And they took possession. They manifested ownership. But so did Yeshua. He conquered and they manifested. So it's forever. So we are not going to mention again, some people offer now the explanations that are all very nice, perhaps, but they know what the Rambam says. The Rambam makes it very clear. What's the reason why Holiness 1 doesn't last? Because it was through kibush, conquering. What's the reason why Holiness 2 lasts? Because chazaka. Kesef Mishnah says, what's the difference? And besides, again, Yeshua did do chazaka after he conquered it. So that should be forever too. So the Rebbe offers a very novel insight. And he says, the root of the difference is, what was Hashem's commandment? What was Hashem's commandment? And there were two different commandments. Yeshua got one instruction, and Ezra got a very different instruction. And therefore, since God's commandments were different, then the only way the holiness comes is through the commandment. And let's therefore address it. Hashem told Yeshua, and told Moishe, and told Yeshua, conquer the land. That's it. These were the divine words. That's how you're going to bring holiness. Good? So Yeshua conquered it. It was holy as long as they remained the conquerors. When others conquered it, the holiness left. The fact that they took possession afterwards is immaterial. That wasn't the way that they were told to bring the holiness. Had Hashem said, conquer it and then take possession of it, those words, then the taking possession would be part of the way the holiness, the Kedusha, is conferred upon Eretz Yisrael. But the words were, v'nichpesha, conquer it, that's it. So the whole thing depends on being there and being in control. If you're not there and not in control, then the holiness leaves when you leave. But Ezra, here's the thing now. Ezra is not told conquer. They didn't have to, that's true. But there wasn't even anything to conquer. I just to point out, there was one area in Israel for Yeshua that he didn't conquer. It was given to them. The Givonim gave it voluntarily. So there was no conquering. They only took possession. And that holiness didn't last either, because taking possession was not the instruction then. We're going to explain why on a deeper level. The instruction was exclusively conquer it, finished. So the holiness lasts as long as you are the victor. You're there and you're in control. When you are evicted, with the eviction of the Jew was the eviction of its holiness. Again, Yeshua is told, Ezra, not a word about conquering. Ezra is told, take possession. Now, what does this mean? Here we're going, the depth of it. Take possession means like this. We started off by saying that our whole discussion is only with respect to the Kedusha, not the ownership. Who owns Eretz Yisrael? We looked at the sources. You can look at it again later. The famous Talmud Yerushalmi. The Jews own it from the time of Avraham. Before they even went in, it was theirs. This explains many things. Let me explain to you, for example. A firstborn, we all know, gets a double inheritance of the father's estate. but he only gets min hamurzik. He only gets that which the father had in his possession at the time of his death. What about if someone owes the father a debt and in the future, and he pays it? So since it wasn't in the possession of the father at the time of his death, the firstborn does not get double portion of that. It's in the words of the Gemara that a son only inherits min hamurzik, not because that which is fitting will be coming, because money is owed to the estate. For that, that's divided equally. So just to remind you, that a story I read recently, the daughters of Tzlafchad, so they said that our father was a firstborn, in double portion, and we should get a firstborn to his father who left Egypt. Their grandfather left Egypt, their father was a firstborn, and therefore they want to get a double portion. And they did in the end. But hey, it didn't come with your father's possession yet. Why are they entitled to a double portion? Or without any portion, in fact. And the answer is because this is not something yet to come. The father owns it now. Eretz is owned by Jews already, before they went there, for time of Avraham. So that's a halachic demonstration of the fact that ownership was from day one. Nasati, I've given it. And therefore, here's the point. When Hashem told Yeshua, confer the holiness by virtue of the fact that I've already given it. You're going to tap into the ownership of the land that is now going to confer the holiness. Yeshua not. Yeshua said, you bring a holiness because you conquered it, not because you're going to be tapping into the ownership dimension, which is yours, whether a Jew is there or not. The holiness, the first time, is totally dependent on the force. You're there, it's holy. You're not there, it's not. The second holiness, God says, you're going to confer the holiness not from outside. The truth is, it always was holy. It's the Holy Land. You're going to tap into it. Tap into it by virtue of your ownership. Now, so far clear? So here's the essence of it. Yeshua's Kedusha is not linked to ownership. It's linked to actually being there, physically being there, being the conqueror and being the one that's physically on the land. Ezra is told to confer ownership, holiness, Kedusha, by tapping into the holiness that's there. Take possession of it. It is yours. And with this, the holiness will come. Two different kinds of holiness. One that's coming like conferred onto it. One is unlocking it. A holiness conferred or a holiness unlocked. How's it unlocked? It's unlocked by virtue of the fact that you're the owner. And that you always were. Everybody, all Jews were from the time of Avraham. That's where the holiness is now coming. And therefore, that's forever. Because the ownership is forever. So everywhere that Ezra expressed ownership, that holiness is forever. We're clear? Now, the dimension we didn't explain last week, I'm going to explain now. This is, we hinted to it. We're going to explain it now. It's in the text. We can look at it later, but it's better just to listen to me. We're talking now the difference between a gift and an inheritance. A matana and a yerusha. A gift is not forever, an inheritance is. What do I mean by that? So here's the halacha, a very fascinating halacha. A person's on his deathbed, and he has estate, he has properties, and so on. So he says to someone, I'm gifting you this property. Good, the person dies, the person receives it as a gift. That person then now dies. It doesn't go over to his children. His children don't inherit it. Since it was gifted, it's now, when that person dies, the gift is over, and the property now will be inherited by the original giver's heirs, his yorshim. Matana yesh lo hefsek. He gave it to him, but not his children. So as long as the recipient is alive, the gift is his. As soon as the recipient of it dies, the gift is no longer a gift, and it now reverts back to the original person's estate, family. But what if he says, before he dies, to someone, I'm giving it to you as an inheritance. You're like my child. I'm not gifting this to you. You're inheriting it. That's forever. When that person dies, his children inherit it, and so goes on forever. Yerusha ein lo hefsek. Inheritance doesn't ever interrupt. It never breaks. It continues uninterruptedly. What's the difference? Because when you say to someone, you're my inheritor, what you're saying is, you're an extension of me. You're an extension of me. When you give a gift to someone, that person and you are two separate people, and you're giving him a gift. It's very nice. Not forever. The connection to you is not forever, or your children. When he dies, it's the end of his connection to the land, the one who received the gift, and it goes back to the giver and his descendants, his heirs. Because when I give you a gift, it's a bond between us. We don't become one forever. But if I say you inherit me, I'm saying you and I are one. The inheritance is very different. It's very different. That's why when a literal son, about which you don't have to say you inherit, because that's the fact the child inherits, immediately upon the death of the father, the child inherits. There's no need for any transaction. If I give you a gift, you have to manifest your ownership over it somehow before it becomes yours. But a child who inherits the father's estate, you don't have to do something when they get older to demonstrate ownership. It's natural. Because why? Because they've been claimed of, they're the extension of the father. You clear? A gift, the recipient always remains separate, not from the giver. The inheritor is one with the one from whom he inherits. Yerusha ein lo hefsek. It's one thing. Now, if we look at the verses, the very beginning, when Hashem gave the land, we find two expressions. The expression of gifting and the expression of inheritance. Initially, God said to Avraham, this is very critical now, friends, because it's very deep and beautiful. Initially, Hashem said to Avraham, I'm giving you the land. Then a little bit later, Avraham says, but how will I know that I will inherit it? Avraham invokes the words inheritance. Hashem makes a covenant with him and says, to you, I've bequeathed as an inheritance forever. So there's two dimensions. There's the gift, and then later the inheritance, which came as a result of Avraham's question. Now, sages are critical on a very subtle level. God promised you, how will I know? Okay. You're asking how, so we make a whole covenant, a whole bris, and that's forever you inherit. But in theory, shouldn't have asked the question. If God said, I'm giving it, I'm giving it. Okay. We're not critical of him that way, but we're just pointing out this was an expression of, and we'll soon see it's a good thing, an expression of lack of perfect trust, which is entitled to how will I know I'll inherit it. But we're going to explain this in a deeper level. But the Rogatchover is saying, the Rebbe is saying, the first time Eden went in reflects God's first promise, which is a gift, and gifts don't go on forever. That's why the holiness stopped. The second time they went in, they invoked the inheritance connection that Hashem now uses in his language to Avram, which Avram requested, and that's forever. So the first is matana, the second is Yerusha. The first was gift. The holiness was connected to the land being gifted. And we just said before, gifts don't go on from one generation to the other. They can stop. The second coming under Ezra was connected with the inheritance component, which God only mentioned later as a response to Avram's question. So we started to explain last week, and that's what I want to continue now, is the spiritual underpinning. Why is it like this way? So he said there's the tzaddik and the Baal Tshuva. Friends are all born tzaddikim. They're all born righteous. We're all born innocent. Until what? So I tell you, we're all innocent until when? Until we're exposed to something, a temptation we can't resist. If we'd be in an environment with no temptations, our innocence would continue, because what else are we going to do? Which is why, as parents, it's part of our responsibility to see to it that our children's environment should be as pure and protected and guarded as possible, so that they don't succumb to temptation. That's the way it's got to be. We try and preserve that innocence for as long as we can and make it a very strong foundation. So we're all born tzaddikim. But then we've got to leave the house at some point. No matter how sheltered the environment is, at some point you got to go out there and, you're going to meet a girl beyond your sister. And there's going to be temptations of finance and all kinds of things. And no one's perfect. There's no tzaddik that is perfect. Only God's perfect. It's going to be a fall, like Avraham. He asked the question on his level. That's a bit of a fall. But then it comes to teshuva. We sinned. We got distracted. We violated. We betrayed. But then we do teshuva. Now here's the thing: when a yid does teshuva, that really expresses how deeply we're connected to God. Because you would think, logic says like this: if you betray and sin, that's it. You broke the relationship. It's over. You got a gift, and you didn't carry it on to the in your life. It's gone. Like a gift is not forever. We looked at the lucky parameters of a gift. Yet we see that a Jew, even if he sins, he can't be in that situation for too long. In the end, he's got to do teshuva. Like, where's this coming from? You sinned, you walked away. Now, I'm talking about, let's say, someone changes his lifestyle and becomes not religious, and he marries a non-Jew, the works. In the end, he'll do teshuva this lifetime or another lifetime. He's going to. Where does this come from? Where does it come from? You walked away. $1,000 to draw a separation. A Christian who renounces his Christianity, that's the end of it. He's not going back. He doesn't go back. I don't think it ever happened. Maybe it did happen, whatever, but that's be the exception. No longer believe in Yoshke, not keeping your Christianity, goodbye, Charlie, or Muslim or any other faith. Eden, it's not that way. You don't keep Yiddishkeit, God forbid, transgress and so on. It's not forever. It can't be. Why? Because there's something inside me. I am a Jew. I am. And therefore, the truth of who I am does not rest. And it's got to come out. That's exactly what's going on here spiritually. The whole story with Israel, in terms of the holiness. The first time when they went in under Yeshua, the holiness was like tzaddikim. They were tzaddikim under Yeshua. There was a new generation that went into Israel, and they were, except for a few exceptions, people were righteous and holy. And the holiness was connected, an expression of their righteous behavior. Not that they are Jews. That's a given, but the holiness is connected to the way you behave as a Jew. So as long as you behaved as a Jew, the holiness was there. You didn't, and you were conquered by the Yetzer Hara, right? The foreigners came and conquered you and took possession of the land because we sinned. That's why it happened. So you're not behaving Jewishly. Goodbye, Charlie. The Jewishness is gone. That's the first promise to God. That's the gift I mentioned. It doesn't last forever. But the second they came back, they did teshuva. Ezra made this great leader, Ezra, a whole renaissance of teshuva. Jews were married with non-Jews. They let their wives go. There was a whole teshuva. What did the teshuva come? I am Jewish. Ezra's holiness is connected to the fact that I am a Yid. This land is always yours. As we explained, chazaka, not conquering. You're tapping into what was always there all along. That's forever. Because you're forever Jewish. And you reveal that's forever. That's why the second Kedusha is forever. Because the holiness of Abal Tshuva. And the first Kedusha is the holiness of childhood of a tzaddik, which is beautiful but doesn't last. You're going to fall. Each one on their level. It's going to happen. It's part of the divine intent. But through that descent, you're going to unlock a much deeper connection that you inherit. Your God's inheritance. It means you and the Eibishter are one. That God, Hashem only invokes to Avraham when round 2, after his question, and he was embarrassed with his question, but he did teshuva on his level. God made a covenant, which is forever, and you inherit me. God invokes inheritance only in the second communication to Avraham after his question, after his teshuva, because inheritance, that's forever. Because I am a Yid. I'm one with Hashem. There's a piece of God within me. I don't earn this. It's who I am. And if you tap into that, then that holiness, you're tapping into an eternal holiness. And that's why that Kedusha, that Ezra revealed, not conferred. Yeshua conferred it. He brought the holiness through the holy behavior. Ezra was through teshuvah. Where's teshuvah come from? Because I am a Yid. Now I'm going to conclude a little story. Clear? And again, okay, so now we understand the deeper level why he had to go this way. First kibush, first conquering, which means conferred. As long as you're in charge, your behavior is good. Good. When you're not, it's over. The second one, no. The holiness is because I am a Jew. It's deeper than my behavior, and that's what I'm tapping into. And my behavior now is going to reflect that I am a Yid, not that I'm a holy person. Is we clear? The first holiness expressed, we're holy people, we're holy, I'm holy, I'm tzaddik, holy person. It lasts as long as you're behaving holy. The second one, the holiness comes from, not because I'm behaving holy, but because I'm a Yid. I am a Jew, and that's forever. And my behavior is going to reflect that. So I'm behaving in a holy way, not because I'm some holy person, because I'm simply Jewish. That's much deeper. That's forever. It's humbler, it's truer, it's deeper, it's forever. That's Yerusha. Are we clear, gents? So I want to tell you just a story, a beautiful story. It's running out of time. It's a cute, this story was actually, my daughter Hannah told this story on CBC television. We ask you, how could it possibly happen? Because many years ago, we first moved to Hampstead. For some reason, they did a story. I'll tell you why, because there were no sukkahs in Hampstead. There'd be 2 sukkahs in the whole Hampstead. So when we moved here, we had a sukkah. Each had a sukkah, and other Yidden started making a sukkah. And it started to become a big, so they did a story on our sukkah. They did a story. They came filmed during Cholamoid Sukkahs. We made a shtickle Fabrengen with my family and kids. And then they wanted to interview my children. So Chanda then was 16, 17. So they asked her to explain the holiday of Sukkot and what she likes so much about Sukkot. So she said, the Fabrengens. What's a Fabrengen? It was a Chinese, a Asian reporter, English, born in Canada. What's a Fabrengen? So Khan explains a bit. It's all on television. I said, well, what did you learn there? So she I think she said the story, but that didn't get on. She shares the story she heard. She was sitting in the bathroom where she was, sitting in the room upstairs, sitting in that was told in the sukkah. By who? I'll just tell you, by Shalom Duchman, that's Chaim Treitel's brother-in-law. It's famous. It's a story. He heard from Rabbi. Not so now it's famous. Here's the Moishe. The Moishe was like this. The previous Rebbe came to Yisrael in 1929 for a visit because the communists, he went back to Russia. The communists afterwards, he went to America and then back to Russia. Back to Europe, I'm sorry. He was kicked out. Kicked out of Russia in 1927. He wanted to visit Cave Overs, the graves of his holy ancestors. He wasn't allowed to. So therefore, he's going to go to Yisrael because the graves of all tzaddikim are all connected. Then he went to America, famous visit, and he went back to Poland in 1940 from Warsaw. He came to America. So when he was, the visit to Yisrael, I mean, it's a big piece of history. It's an amazing, amazing visit, and it's written, documented, unbelievable story. Now, there were some Lubavitchers, and a certain fellow by the name of, his name was Itkin, Yerl Itkin, I think related to the Itkin in Nuns Island, Levi Itkin, I think, I'm not sure. You know, he had emigrated to Israel before, years earlier, but he got, you know, the infrastructure there, the support there. There was not much Jewish life. He lived in Tel Aviv and he worked in the post office. And he basically gave up, you know, observant, certainly Hasidic life. Slowly, that's what happens, right? Anyway, now the previous Rebbe comes to Israel. And he wants to see him, but he's embarrassed. He can't go. I don't know if he had a beard or whatever, his whole appearance. He's not going. And so when the previous Rebbe was in Tel Aviv, that's where he lived, this Yoel Itkin, he worked in the post office there, the desire to see him was burning in him, but I'm not going. and just make sure he's not going to go that morning. He make sure to wear short pants. They used to wear these short pants there. He's definitely not going to go to the Rebbe in these khaki, short pants. That's even if the devil will make sure he's not going to go. But what happened was, if you think the previous Rebbe was staying in this hotel there, and he's going to work, and he has to see the Rebbe, and he goes, despite the fact that he's coming like this. And the Rebbe sees him, and the Rebbe says to him these words: "Mit reitzach, ab im besetzach." We wander this way, we wander that way, but the end we meet. Then we connect. This is what a Yid is. Because we're a Yid, temporarily, dreizach here, dreizach there, we wander off, get sidetracked, wander off into foreign pastures as it is. But in the end, like Rabbi Yoel Itkin, in the end, because we are a Yid, it's a symbolic story, and then we connect. That's the story of Yeshua. And therefore, that holiness, the holiness of the Baal Tshuva, is deeper and forever. And that's why there was a Golus to begin with. At the end of the day, the reason Hashem sent us into Golus and makes us confront temptations, etc. Why? At the end of the day, because Hashem says we're going to be so close after this, because you're going to do tshuva. You know why you're going to do tshuva? Because you can't even help yourself. You're my child. There's a piece of me in you. You inherit me, which means we're one. Yerusha. So at the end, we're going to be so deeply connected. So the only choice we have, friends, is when. When? The Torah promises that Rambam Tzahalacha, Ifticha, Torah Shabbos, Yisrael Kolusa, Yisrael Eisin Shuv Mi'adeni Golem Tzahalacha Rambam. Torah promises, all the prophets said it. Torah says, Pashas Nitzavim, you're going to return, and you're going to be redeemed. So if it's all written, so where exactly is the free choice? There's only one free choice. How quickly, how easily? We're going to make this complicated, we're going to make this simple. We're going to do this now, it's going to be pushed off till tomorrow, God forbid. But we're going to come back, because we are Yidden, and we're going to be connected, therefore, the deepest way, that's guaranteed. So let's each one on their level see to live that way and inspire another Jew. We should all come back, and we'll immediately take it from Yad Mamish to be reunited with all our loved ones here in this world, and be one with Hashem in the deepest way. And from there, blessing will emanate to the whole world. Good Shabbos, everybody. We're a bit overtime. I apologize.
Good Shabbos, Rabbi. Mazel tov, mazel.
Thank you. You tell us in tefillin already. What a tzaddik. Look at that.
I have to move fast.
Okay, looking good.
Great day, guys. Thank you so much.
Good Shabbos.
Good
If you look at the paper that I sent, which you have on your WhatsApp, you'll see it's all laid out there. You'll see it there. All the sources, all the things we said. Okay.
Beautiful.
Good Shabbos.
Have a great
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Well.
Bye.